Voyage.
All right, listeners. Hi, it's Nat Mundel, the founder of Voyage. I'm super excited to introduce our listeners today to Charlie Clausen. Charlie is playing Geoff in our upcoming episode of our allegedly true crime series in the episode called Love Gone Wrong in the Philippines. Very exciting episode. You probably know Charlie as the lead in the long-running Australian series Home and Away. And for those of you that know the Australian film and television market, you might also know him from the hit drama Blue Heelers, and also most recently the TV spin-off of the horror film Wolf Creek. So that's going to be a very exciting project. So Charlie, thanks so much for joining us.
No, it's exciting to be a part of this. I've never done a true crime podcast. Some people would listen to my regular podcast and accuse me of committing a crime, but this is the first time I've been involved in a true crime one.
Right on. Well, as we were talking before we came on, we discussed just how long you've been involved in podcasting. How long have you been involved in podcasting? How on earth did you get started so early, and what have you been doing in this world?
I have a podcast network called TOFOP, TOFOP, which was a little play on Russell Crowe had a band in the mid 2000s called 30 Odd Foot of 30 Odd Foot of Grunt, which we changed to 30 Odd Foot of Pod. So therefore it turns into TOFOP. And it was just a friend of mine, Will Anderson. He's quite a well-known comedian here. We were listening to podcasts. We were doing a road trip one day, and I think that was back when it was just Ricky Gervais and Kevin Smith, and I think even Joe Rogan had just started out. And we were like, we can do this. It's just two people in a room talking. We'd done sort of radio in the past, and it always felt like it was very constrictive, just having short conversations, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then you throw to a song or an ad. And so when podcasting came along, we're like, well, here's a medium designed for us. We're two guys who like the sounds of our own voice, and all you need is a microphone. Took us about 100 episodes to work out how to use the microphones, but 12 years later, here we are.
Well, what were some of those early shows that you did other than TOFOP? You have a sports show too, right?
Yeah, that's we did. That's the AFL show, which is Aussie Rules. We started that one 7 years ago or 6 years ago. We're going to our 7th year now, and that was a spin-off from TOFOP because the listeners of TOFOP were like, we hate how much you guys talk about football. Can you please create a separate show so we don't have to listen to that? And then we started, Will has another one called Willosophy, which is more of a kind of highbrow interview show where he has various celebrities and academics and intellectuals on this show. And then we started producing other people's shows. So as you know, wow, as a founder yourself, like there is a tremendous market for content. And I think it's exciting. We just love the idea that Will used to describe it as like the punk rock era, that there were no rules, there were no gatekeepers. All you needed is like a couple of friends who have like an idea and the basics with equipment, and you can just get started.
Unfortunately, there's just 2 million Sid Viciouses, so we just have to figure out how to get the right ones discovered, right?
That's right. Correct.
So this is your first true crime podcast. Is it also your first podcast where you're actually acting and playing a role?
Yeah. It's funny. I've always been fascinated. There's quite a few that I've listened to, and it seems like such a natural extension. It's almost in a weird way. We're sort of almost going back to old media in the era of radio plays and stuff. But it makes sense that true crime is such a popular format and genre in podcasting, because there are so many stories out there, and until you guys got in contact, I hadn't really thought of the idea of dramatizing true crime. A lot of the podcasts I've listened to were more documentary style, but this makes a lot of sense. And I was very excited when I read the script, and I'm like, oh, it's really funny and it's really interesting. And I think the way that the narration and the acting kind of go hand in hand. I really hope listeners enjoy it, because I think it's a tremendous script.
Yeah, interesting. And allegedly our true crime anthology is that docudrama hybrid where we've got, the real life people talking about their actual experiences and then cut together with these scripted and narrated reenactment sequences. We also have our first ever show was a true crime show, but it was fully scripted, called Let Me Tell You About My Murder. So it's 100% actor performed, but a real true crime story.
Now, I've noticed you've used the word allegedly a few times in our conversation so far. Are you just covering yourself legally?
No. That's the name of our show.
Okay.
and yes, part of that strategy is to make sure we're not saying that this is 100% true or happened, but it might have been, right? So so on that note, let's dig into your episode. Why choose this role? What attracted to you to this particular episode and show?
I just think it's something, it's going down the rabbit hole, like it starts off as a fairly innocuous story, and Geoff is such a likable character, and then as situation continues to spin more and more out of control, you sort of just like, it can't get any worse. It can't get any worse. And sure enough, it gets worse. But there's a real sense of like humor to it. Like you get a sense of Geoff's personality throughout the whole thing. He has that kind of classic, what people think of as like a classic Australian laconic nature. Like even when, he's sort of getting tossed in jail and things like that, there is a kind of wry sort of like sense of irony to the whole thing. And I just found it really compelling and funny. And I think it's just the shifts between the kind of scripted bits and also, Geoff's narration, I think just complete the picture beautifully. Like it's like when you watch Arrested Development, Ron Howard's voiceover just takes the drama and just makes it that much funnier.
Right. Yeah. And the character is so interesting, and the real life character is so interesting in that, he gets really worked over by, this villainous Candy character. And we've got some pretty clear red flags along the way. So as an actor, if you dive into that role, like, what do you think was driving him to keep investing in her, given all those red flags?
Well, initially, it sounds like she was very beautiful. That was like that's where it started. But I think there's also like an element, when you sort of read between the lines of what Geoff is saying, is that he's a romantic, I think he wanted this to work, and, it was a second chance at love. And I think he wanted to believe her, and he wanted this to work out. And even, without sort of, spoiling anything, like, with the becoming a father and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think there is a sense of obligation. Like, he's a very honorable man, Geoff, even though he had everyone saying to him that your wife's a villain and, she's cheating on you and all this kind of stuff. Like he continued to do the right thing, and it almost to his own detriment in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like he sort of keeps getting into trouble because he gives her the benefit of the doubt. And I don't know. I mean, I often look at friends of mine who seem to ignore red flags. And I think there's some people, who do it because maybe there's just like an element of, they love the danger, and I think for Geoff, that had to be part of it. Like living in the Philippines is like a pretty wild country to live in. You are sort of going somewhere where, there's a lot of police corruption and the rules don't apply. And so I think to make your home there and start a family, you've got to have a little bit of element of this is exciting and this is new.
Right. There's something there just to even start with. Have you been to the Philippines?
No, my parents used to travel to the Philippines quite a bit, quite a few Filipino friends.
Yeah.
But from everything I understand about it, it is, it is a bit of the Wild West.
Yeah. There's an edge there, right? There's a lot of edge and excitement and, the sort of the two sides of the coin of opportunity and fraud, right? Like, it's an exciting place. So Geoff is a father, and I believe you're a father, right?
Yep. If I sound a bit croaky, it's because my 2-year-old was up most of last night.
So does that experience of fatherhood give you, sort of an ability to connect to, Geoff, his understand the bond that he has with his son, even though it might not even be his?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think that's actually one of the bits, one of the parts of the story that I really identified with, is that it's heart-wrenching when a child is used as a pawn against you, when it's manipulated to lie to you, or, that the child has been lied to by the mother to turn against you. I think that's, you're asking sort of what motivates Geoff. Well, if he's a man of honor and a guy who does the right thing, then that's the sure way to hurt him, or a sure way to get it.
Right. That's like the penultimate tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so Charlie, tell us what's next, man. Like, what are you working on? What do you want your fans to know?
Well, TOEFOP, the network, we've had an extended break. We're sort of a bit burnt out like most people after 2021, but we are coming back. We're slowly, incrementally bringing the shows back. FOFOP is back this week. Two Guys, One Cup is going, and TOEFOP will be back at the end of Feb. And then I'm working on a feature film. I'm almost finished a script for a feature film that we're hoping to put into production at the end of the year. My wife, Gemma Lee, is directing it.
Oh, exciting.
So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff on. I mean, it's been a nice break, but then, straight back into work now.
Yeah. Wow. Well, good, man. I'm glad you're busy and excited. Well, thank you, so much for choosing to play the role and playing with us in this podcast sandbox. It's a new space for Voyage. It's an exciting space, and we're having lots of fun doing it. And so, listeners, let's give a nice welcome to Charlie as one of our players, and also tune in, listen to Allegedly and Charlie's episode in our upcoming show. You can find it on Apple and Spotify and Google and anywhere you listen to podcasts. So please do that. And also on voyagemedia.fm, where all of our podcasts live. And that's me, Nat Mundel, signing off. And again, thanks again, Charlie.
Thanks, Nat.
Cheers.